Hello students, last class we discussed about force. Okay, so force in detail we discussed what is force. Today we try to understand different types of forces, we try to understand. So first of all, again I just write force, that is you can remember this one easily. A push or pull, a push or pull acting on an object, is called force. This one we have understood in last class, so only I have written this one to just remember that if push or pull acting on an object is called force. Simple terms we can say like that. Okay, now we have to understand different types of forces. What I told you, that some types of force. So types of forces. Okay, what types we have to discuss, we have to understand. I will just go through that. Muscular force, you see, so muscular force is a type of force, and actually muscular force is exerted by our muscles. You know, in our body muscles are there, we apply certain forces with the help of this muscle. That's why it is called as muscular force, student, due to muscles. Simply the force exerted by muscles of our body, means our body muscles just exert some force, that is muscular force. Muscles of our body is called muscular force. So muscles of our body is just exerting this force. Muscles, we have muscles, you know, these muscles. So these muscles just exert force. When I just pushing this one, certain force is applied, that is known as muscular force. Some of the examples, you just go through that pushing a door, when we try to push a door, then we are applying certain force through our muscles. So that is pushing a door, is just example of muscular force. Kicking a football, just an example of muscular force. Okay, lifting a bag. So these all are just exerted by our muscles, body muscles. That's why we just say muscular force. This is related to muscles, living beings. Okay. Now second type of force what we can have. So many types of forces are there, students. Some of them we try to understand here. Muscular force, then frictional force. Actually this one is friction. Friction means always it just oppose the direction of motion. Something is just moving, then friction just oppose that movement. That's why, you know, just when we just throw a ball or just a ball is moving on a surface, then automatically after some time it will come to rest. Why? Because frictional force is just opposing that movement. Okay, so frictional force or friction, directly only we can write friction also. So friction is the force, friction is the force that opposes the motion. Okay, so friction always opposes the motion. When something is moving, friction just try to oppose the motion, you see. Second point, friction always acts in the direction, friction always acts in the direction opposite to the direction of movement, opposite to the direction of movement. What does it mean actually, students? So through this I am telling you that any kind of movement is there, this is just a contact force. So when something is in contact, then only this force will act. See, on any surface, anything is there. Just suppose that this hand is trying to move in this direction. Okay, so this is in contact, so there is opposite one force is acting. My hand is moving in this direction, so in opposite direction one force is trying to stop this hand. This one is called as friction. Everywhere when certain objects are in contact and one object is just moving, then in opposite direction some force is applied always. That is called as friction or frictional force. And actually, automatically something just stops. Some object is moving and it automatically stops. So because of friction that stop, otherwise it will continue. When you just throw a ball on the surface, then never it will stop. If friction is not there, it will never stop. Continuously it will move. So it stops automatically because of friction, students. Okay, so example, we just go through the example and we can understand. Moving ball on the ground comes to rest on its own. Okay, on its own due to force of friction. So one ball is just moving. Suppose this one is a ground, this one is a ball, it is just moving in this direction. Sorry, this one is in contact. Okay, moving in this direction. Then one time will reach when this will stop, ball will stop. So why ball will stop? Because in opposite direction friction is applied. Friction is applied here in this opposite direction. That's why this ball finally stops. So here moving ball. So this moving ball finally stopped because of friction here. Okay, students. Now next concept we have to understand. that is mechanical force. Mechanical force. Actually, generally, machine exerts this force, mechanical force. So, generally, you can see mechanical force in these terms are used in machines, their force. Okay. What important point here you see? A mechanical force comes into play. A mechanical force comes into play when a pull or push comes in physical contact, okay, with an object. So when they are you see, a mechanical force comes into play when a pull or push comes in physical contact with an object. When they are in physically contact, they exert force, that is mechanical force. Simply in your book this one is written that force produced, simply you can remember this one, force produced by a machine, force produced by a machine is mechanical force. Okay, so these forces are associated with, simply machines exert this kind of force, physical contacts, push or pull, these kind of activities take place, then one force is exerted, that is known as mechanical force. So force produced by a machine is mechanical force, simply you can write. Example, when we try to understand, we can understand car, buses and other vehicles, car, buses and other vehicles move due to mechanical force. Okay, so I already told you these are related to machinery items. Machinery items generally they produce mechanical forces. So car, buses and other vehicles, they just move because of mechanical force. Next one, what we have, say elastic force. You know that elasticity, elastic substances, you can stretch that elastic bands, rubber bands are there, you can stretch and again it just take its original shape. So that is also a force, they also exert. You just take an elastic band and you just leave that, they also exert certain force. That's why it is just taken as a force, elastic force. You see, force possessed by, this one is possessed, force possessed by a body, force possessed by a body that regains its original shape after being stressed is called elastic force. So force possessed by a body that regains its original shape after being stretched is called elastic force. You see that elastic rubber bands we just stretch, and when we just leave that, it just come to the original shape and exert force also. So that's what we are just telling through this statement. Okay. Example what we can have: elastic thread. You have elastic threads, you just go and try to practice this, you will experience some force. Okay student, this is the elastic force. Elasticity is there. The elasticity is the property, and some of the materials can be stretched so many times and it will again take original shape. So that force exerted by those kind of elastic materials, that is elastic forces. Okay, so this one. Now next we have students very common force, that is magnetic force. Magnetic force student. Okay, see this one, magnets, force exerted by the magnets. So I will write in a statement magnetic force is the force. Magnetic force is the force with which magnetic force is a force with which a magnet attracts metals. This one we have understood that magnet attracts metals. Magnet attracts metals such as iron and nickel. This one we have just studied, a student, iron and nickel and other magnets. So actually they just also exert forces. Magnetic force means magnets just exert some force and they can attract metals like nickels, irons we have written. So you can just attract that material. So to just attract, to just pull something, we need just force. So pushing and pulling, we know that, and it is also doing the same work. That's why we just say magnetic force. Magnet also exert the force. Okay students, so that is magnetic force. You just understand. Next one what we have, that is the very common force, that is students gravitational force. Gravitational force, or we say this one gravity. Actually we will discuss in this class only about this one, Earth's gravity, that Earth is attracting. That's why I have written gravity. So gravitational force or gravitational force or gravity is the force that attracts objects to the center of the earth. Okay, student. What does it mean actually that gravitational force or gravity is the force that attracts object toward the center of the earth? Actually, what happens, all the objects, when I just leave that, it will just fall down. Any object on this planet earth, you will see that they just fall down. We just throw up, it will fall down. So all the things, you just see fruits when just ripe, they fall down. So all the things just fall on the earth. Actually, center, why it is written? Because this force is created from the earth center. Suppose that this one is the earth, student. Suppose this kind of earth I have, then actually what happens, some bulges should be there like this. So what will happen, this one is the center position. So from here this force is acting from here, that's why it is called a center. And all the objects, even this object, this will try to just move down. Anywhere object is there, this will just go to the center, they try. So some force is acting towards the center of the earth. This force is known as gravitational force or gravity. So on any object, any kind of object is there, we don't think about that, any kind of object is there, that object will be attracted by the earth center, that is called as gravitational force. Or gravity means center of earth attracts all the objects towards the earth. Don't be confused, some topic is given in your book that force is also there between all the objects of the universe, but here what we are reading, gravity. In gravity what happened, this one is the earth, suppose this one is the earth, student. So all the objects around this earth, they all are attracted by certain force, means earth is attracting all the objects towards its center with a force that is called as gravitational force or gravity. Any object just falling down because of this gravitational force or gravity. Okay, students, next class we will discuss next topic.